Do you ever feel like you're doing it wrong in life, business, or even your own goals? What if I told you there is no wrong way? What if I told you to scrap everything that everyone has told you about how to do things and really listen to what you want? True freedom comes from knowing you are in charge of all your decisions and knowing you get to decide what's important to you. On this episode of More Life, Less Drama, I had a really great conversation with a woman called Billie Sharpe. She's a dynamic entrepreneur who manages 5 businesses while homeschooling her daughter. Billie shares her extraordinary journey from financial hardship to business success and really talks into the importance of aligning work with personal values and goals. Billie highlights staying true to one's path despite external pressures, mirroring the principles taught in the Finishers Club about identifying true motivations and setting actionable goals. So join us on this conversation where you will learn some practical strategies for aligning your actions with your desires, finishing what you start, and achieving both success and personal fulfilment. Enjoy. Well, hello, Billie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, really excited to have you on the More Life, Less Drama podcast. It's going to be a really great thing for our listeners too, to hear what you've got to say. More Life, Less Drama is basically exactly what the title says. It's about living life without all the drama that we carry around with us, because we tend to do that a lot. And so having conversations with people like yourself that have gone through it, you know, having a conversation with you earlier, it's like you've gone through it. You could have said yes to all the drama, but for what I got from our conversation a few weeks ago was that your mindset is such a way that you don't focus on that. You're a problem solver opposed to, you know, carrying drama around. And I love that. Perfect person to come on the podcast. And so as a small business expert, I was looking at your website earlier. That's the title on your website. As a small business expert, because there's plenty of people that listen to this that are or have like side hustles, small businesses, you know, even, you know, businesses that are quite successful as well. But what is the one thing that you want people to know that's really important that could potentially save them a lot of drama in their businesses?
So I think the biggest thing is that you have to focus on what you can control. Like this is where drama, you can't control the drama, right? Like you're constantly dragged into it, but there's also things that might not feel like drama, but they're out of your control. And once they're out of your control, it generally creates drama. You might lose motivation because there's nothing you can do. So you just keep like getting dragged along. When you start to only focus on the things within your control, that's when you'll see real growth and you'll start to feel really good about yourself as well because you're achieving things and you're like, yes, I've done this. Yes, oh, I feel so successful today. I feel like I've done so much today. And then if you looked back and you were like, yeah, you know what, that stuff was really out of my control and I spent all day focusing on it. How did you feel at the end of the day? Because I can guarantee you'll feel like I achieved nothing today. Right?
Yes.
So that would be my biggest piece of advice is focus on what you can control.
Okay, so it's interesting. Today I was having a moment this morning, you know, like got into work before, you know, we've recorded here today and was just had to down tools for a minute because I was like feeling a little bit, oh God, so I just don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to start this process or, you know, so I just like had to walk away from my desk earlier and I stood out in the kitchen and my husband's like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I just, you know, I'm having a moment. I feel frustrated. but it's, you know, and I'm seeing your face like I feel
I've been there.
Yeah. And it's like, so it's in that moment. And this is what I got from you when I first met you. We had this like really great conversation. And it's in that moment that you get to decide, right? It's like, right, do I decide right now that I'm shit at this, I can't do it, I don't know how, all those things that, you know, your mind just offers up to you, right? Like it just comes up.
Yeah.
And so you can stand in that moment and believe it, or you can do exactly what I just did earlier was, heard them all and then went, you know what? I can figure this out. It's okay. Like, this doesn't have to be a problem. And so that from that thought, it created, okay, let's go back into the office. Let's sit down. Let's do the thing that's just going to step you in the one step in the right direction. It might not work out, but it's the one thing. And so from that conversation with you, I know that's how your mind works too. It's like you can create the problem or you can solve for it.
And you can. And what I would say to people listening, if you don't quite have that mindset yet, because I don't want people to think like you're just born with it or you just wake up one day and have it, right? It literally, and like Prue is saying, she still experiences it like regularly, like that negative things come back in. I'm the same, like it's something you're always working on. So it takes a really long time to grasp that type of mindset and to really focus on those things. What I love doing is if I'm having a moment or a morning, it's usually in the morning, right, where I just can't get motivated, but I have a lot to do. I like to vacuum. It's like the weirdest thing, but it makes then it's clean and I feel like I've really accomplished something. Like, especially my office carpet, it's dark blue and it gets trashed every day. Like, it's so bad every day, right? So we vacuum it every day. And it's not my job in the house to vacuum, but I'll be like, no, I'm vacuuming because I need to feel motivated to be like, yes, I can do this. I'm okay. Everything's going to be okay. I focused on what I could control, which was the vacuuming. I got it done. Now what can I focus on?
I love that. It's almost, I was teaching a class last night and I was talking about an exit strategy. So when you get into the loops, you literally have to find an exit strategy, and your exit strategy is vacuuming the carpet.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as that. It just it gives you that feeling that you're looking for, that you're not getting from whatever it is that you're working on. It's like, so I'm just going to do this, get the feeling, and then that creates the motivation to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and we all have that one thing, right? You will know what that one thing is for you that just makes you feel like you're ready to start your day, that you're ready to go. Some people might just be straightening their hair, it could be brushing their teeth. There's so many, and they're the stupidest, simplest, actionable tasks that we do all the time. But you need to know what works for you and then do it and be like, I haven't actually done that today. I'm going to start with that and then see how you feel.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. And so, so if you're listening to this right now, think of that thing that is for you right now. It's like, what do I always go to that gives me a quick win?
Yeah.
And use it. Like, some people use it against themselves. Like, you could use it against yourself. Like, oh God, I'm vacuuming the carpet again. But instead you're like, this is great. This is a quick win that I can like get on, runs on the board, and now I'm off and racing. Love that. So yeah, listen and see what your thing is. I think my thing is actually doing dishes and cleaning the kitchen. I think that's my thing.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same at night. I really like my day. If I've had a bad day, I like to go to bed knowing my kitchen is like spotlessly clean. It just makes me feel more calm when I lay down. Like if I've had a bad day, you'll find me in the kitchen cleaning. And my husband is like, what are you doing here? Like, this isn't your job. And I'm like, well, it is right now because I need this.
Yeah, that's right. We do need it sometimes. We need it just as a distraction to be able to focus on what we need to focus on. Yeah, next. Perfect. I love it. So for people that are listening and they don't know much about Billie, like Billie is a really successful business owner. Okay, so she's sitting in front of us today, and she's got all the wisdom of running successful businesses. It wasn't always the way. Like, Billie has had many challenges as well. Hearing Billie say, I just have to vacuum my carpet, it's really good, because we often think we get to a stage where we don't have that part anymore. Like Billie was saying earlier, it's not that it just magically happens. Like, you're not born with this mindset. It doesn't stay. You're not like it 100% of the time. You still have to manage the human experience that we're having. And so, so even successful people are doing the things, like doing all the simple things. They're still vacuuming the carpet as a distraction and to build motivation. So, So tell us, what businesses do you have, Billie?
So I own 5 businesses. I started with my coaching business because I just had like this huge desire to help people. And my expertise, like we're all born with something that we're all just really good at. And I'm very fortunate that what I'm really good at is growing business. And all of my career before going out on my own was in small business. So I just took what I knew and ran with it basically. So that's where I started. And then it slowly evolved into a marketing agency as well, because I was doing my own marketing and my clients really wanted that. So over the years that came on board. And now we also own a handyman and electrical business and a cleaning and yard maintenance business. And we're in the process of building a scheduling app for service-based and trade-based businesses. So we'll manage time and rosters and scheduling and things like that. So I am always very busy.
Very busy. Yes.
Yeah, but it's fun and I really enjoy it. We also homeschool our daughter who's 7, and we're the permanent carers for my father-in-law who lives with us as well.
Wow. Okay. So you've got a full plate, right?
Yeah.
What's
No
going
dull
on?
moment.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk into the last thing that you just said, the homeschooling of your 7-year-old. Just tell me a bit about that. Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm very structured routine. And so for me to go out of what we're programmed to do, right? That normal, like go to school 9 till 3, how are you going to get your social interactions? Like for me, that was a really big kind of, it's such a mindset shift to be like, okay, it's okay for you to be homeschooled and we only do like schooling 3 days a week and we're away and doing all this other fun stuff on the outside. But it works really well for us. And because it allows so much more flexibility in our lives, and we do really try to only work those 3 days, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now, which means she's homeschooled on those days. And then on the Mondays and Fridays, it's so much more of a learning experience for her outside of the office or outside of the classroom, right? And I think it's actually on those days that she learns so much more. My biggest concern now with homeschooling is I hope that she never wants to go into a normal job, because I think she would really struggle being told, like, put into a box, right? We're teaching her to think outside of the box, which none of us are taught to do. Like if you went to any type of normal school, whether it was a private school or a public school, you are taught to conform. And it's really hard to learn not to conform. And so for her, she's going the opposite way. We're teaching her not to conform. So if she ever wants a normal job, I'm not really sure what that would look like for her.
I was literally saying this about my daughter because my youngest daughter, Eloise, I think I mentioned this, she had just started doing distance schooling for term 2 this year, and she's loving it.
Great.
So yeah, the unlearning of how to fit inside the box is great. And I only said this the other day was, yeah, Eloise, you're going to have to be an entrepreneur because you're never going to be able to work for somebody else again. Yeah.
There's no choice. And homeschooling looks different every day here. Like some days she'll do it with my husband, but he mostly does all of the homeschooling. I don't have a lot of patience for that. And he'll do a lot of it. But if he needs to be pulled into the business for whatever reason, we have desks in here and she just comes and sits in the office and I just work with her to get through any schoolwork that she has done. But it's fun because if like she has a handwriting book and if she's like, I don't want to do handwriting today, like who actually wants to do a handwriting book? Nobody, right? So I'm like, okay, how about you write a list of things you want to achieve today, but I want you to make sure your handwriting is really good. Like that's what I'm focusing on at the end. So you write a list of things you want to achieve today and a plan on how you're going to achieve them, but I'm going to mark your handwriting. She's like, okay.
So good.
Right.
Yeah, you can make it fun, make it helpful for them. And yes, and you're ticking off the box of
and I'm
handwriting.
teaching her to set goals, like write a list of things you want to achieve, write a plan on how you want to achieve them. You know, the things that I'm really good at teaching rather than at teaching handwriting. And I'm like, we have to focus on the handwriting.
Yeah, it's so much learning to be had like outside of the classroom, you know, and outside of the normal way of doing things. I love this conversation, and I think more people are interested in this conversation, which is why I brought it, like let you bring it up and talk about it. It's the world is changing and we have
and
to
I think
really,
I think too, sorry Prue to cut you off.
right.
one of the questions I get most is, where does her social interaction come from?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, she is an only child. There's a lot of adults around her all of the time, but from children there's not. And I was really concerned about this as well. But what I'm finding very interesting is there are a lot of homeschooled children. So on a Wednesday, she does an art class with other homeschooled children. She also does ice skating. We host a Lego club here with other homeschooled children as well. And then there's another group of kids as well. So I actually find now it's a different type of interaction, and they're taught to deal with a more variety of personalities. And in each of those classes, people can come and go. Whereas normally in a classroom setting, those kids are the same kids there all year, and you get to know who you like and dislike. But when these parts are moving so quickly, I actually think their social development it progresses a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. So if you are thinking of homeschooling and that is your concern behind it, I would say that has not been a problem for us at all. And I'm seeing a much more improvements from that side of it, which I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I concur completely, because it was the one thing that everyone has said to me when I said Eloise is going to do distance schooling. And everyone's like, oh, like, what about her social interaction? And I find it fascinating because Eloise is really social. She's very well socialized, has got a lot of confidence already. And it's so interesting that they just go straight there. Like, it's going to make her a introvert or someone that doesn't want to come out of a little bubble, which, look, that is happening a little bit. But it's not a concern for me, because Eloise was not quite 2 when I created my first business. And so she and I had a bricks and mortar business to start with. She was in the shop with me all the time, interacting with people all the time, all day, every day. And she was so socialized before she even went to school, and like had heaps of confidence. Like there's plenty of stories, but Broken Hill, where I grew up, is like a small town, so all the businesses sort of knew each other. So my small child would be like wandering around the town square, you know, going to just like hang out with the other people, get a lolly from this person, and you know, someone's going to print out some sort of colouring thing for, you know, from another place. And she was really well socialized. And so yeah, it's just interesting to me that people are like concerned about the same thing. And it's back to that conformity, right? That's what everybody's been told. That's what school is great for. And, you know, that's why you go and you need to be doing this and X, Y, and Z to be socialized enough. It's such a load of bullshit.
It is. And it is, like I said, like, you can say I have a growth mindset, you can say all these different things, but I'm still faced every single day with challenges to change my mind in that conformed sense. So it's always, you're always growing and learning, but it is something that everyone asks me.
Yeah. So we're just nipping it in the bud. It's not.
It's not. It really isn't.
Yeah, that's right. And I actually think there's an advantage to it, because the one thing that Eloise was struggling with was the kids that she was surrounded by and their mindset, and you know, all the negative things that they were doing. It was really bringing her down. Like, Eloise is a really quite a positive kid and is outgoing already. That was making her worse. So we're almost at the end of term 2, so she's almost done a full term. I've not seen this kid happier for a long time. I'm like, she's so happy, she's engaging, she's, you know, smiling a lot more, and I'm like, that's a win, you know. So
that's all you want, right? At the end of the day, is you just want your kids to be happy. And if you like, and this is why we homeschooled Bella as well, like, we could just see, you know, like, she loves school, but she was sad. Like, she was actually sad, and now she's not sad at all. And you can see she's just lit up every single day. And that's what you want. And if they're sad, they're not learning anyway. They're not taking in anything that's going on. They're going to look back and go, well, I don't remember doing that, or I don't remember doing this. Nothing's sinking in. So they need to be happy to actually learn. And I think it's great that homeschooling provides that. And like, when we do Lego Club, we get a lot of different kids that have like social anxiety. So it's a very small group of kids. We only do like 6 to 8 kids.
Okay.
And it's the same kids every week. So they get to build these connections. And if they don't want to come, they don't have to come. If they want to sit in the car and their mum sit up at the end of the driveway, that's what happens. Like there's all of these things that occur. But these kids, just from like, we're only into June, so like 6 months into Lego Club, the connections that these kids are building is insane. And their parents, like, they could have never have done this if we didn't homeschool.
Amazing. No, that's right.
So it's, yeah, I think it's such a positive thing.
Mm,
It's not
yeah.
easy. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's not. We create all of our own lesson plans and things like that. We do project-based learning, so it's a lot harder. It would be so much easier to send her to school, 100%.
Yeah.
It would be easier. But it's rewarding. It's worth it. They're happier. I think you're happier because they're happier. There's so many positives to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anybody that like is listening and it's like, oh, yeah, this might be a way for me as well. There is so many options these days. Like there is so many, you know, Billie and I are different. She's homeschooling and it's different to what I'm doing, which is distance education. So the distance education for us, look, it is a lot easier. I couldn't do what Billie and Nick are doing because I don't have the patience either. And my husband doesn't, he works, so he can't homeschool technically. But distance learning for where we're at right now is perfect. And, you know, Stella, our eldest, did it as well through the same school that Eloise is at. And we hired a tutor to come a couple of days, you know, not full days, but a couple of hours a week to help Stella with things that she was struggling with. Eloise hasn't needed that yet. And I don't really foresee that she needs that. She's a lot more, you know, academic. She can sort of get on and do stuff by herself. But yeah, there is a difference. So just note to self, difference between homeschooling and distance education for sure. Yeah, great. Listening to, the life that you've built, you know, you've got 5 businesses on the go, you're super busy, you've got, homeschooling, doing all that. I'm curious. So people get into business, and this is the main reason they get into business. They say, I want the freedom. And I want to know from you, like you're successful, you've got lots going on. Is the freedom worth it? Is the freedom the thing that should drive people into business? What's your take on this?
I think it's great to say like you want freedom. And most people are like, I want financial freedom or I want freedom of choice. And I'm the same. Like, of course, I want freedom of choice is what I want, but usually that comes with financial freedom as well. And that's a great driving factor. But I also think you need to know why you're doing it, because if you're just being driven by this, it's not unrealistic, but if that's what you're focusing on and you're not focusing back on like what's filling your cup, are you really like connecting to your business, what's happening, connecting to what you're doing, is it lighting your soul on fire? You will get burnt out. You'll say, I hate it, business sucks. Like the amount of people I talk to, they're like, I hate my business. I work all the time. I get nothing done. Like it's just so busy. It's so draining. And I'm like, well, I have 5 businesses and I feel great. So
you're doing something different. That's why.
That's it. Yeah. And it's because, yes, the ultimate goal is financial freedom and freedom of like choice, right? And for me, I want freedom in that sense because I believe that real change happens when you have financial freedom. And I'm not just talking about change for me and my family. I'm talking about worldwide global change, right? Yeah. You then have the power to make real change. And that's always my goal. And like I said, at the very beginning, my goal is to help people, right? So right now I get to help people through small business and doing what I'm really good at with growing businesses. Now, if I can leverage off that to help on a global scale in whatever that looks like, that's great. But my goal is the same the entire time, right? Like nothing changes. My goal is to help people. And that's what sets my soul on fire. So I think you have to find what that does for you. And if you're like, I don't know, right? So you've got to kind of be like, I know if I go and donate blood, I feel like a hero. Like I know they tell you are, but I genuinely just feel so good about it. Yeah. If I go and I volunteer my time at a sporting field in a canteen or something like that, I feel so good. If I give somebody my services for free for a month just because they couldn't afford it, I'm like, look, come and join the group. It's fine. And just see what you get out of it and go from there. Like, they're all things that fill my emotional cup. So for me, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it never feels like work, because there are times that I'm like, that was a crap day. But for the most part, I don't feel burnt out or run down. For the most part, I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. You know, and there's days that I'm having like little mini meltdowns over my business, you know. And when I get to that point in time where I think to myself, you know, yeah, I could go and get a job, you know, most probably do that. And then I think to myself, oh no, the pain that I'm feeling in my business is so much better than the pain of being employed by somebody and having no time. And that drives me. And it's like, no, I can keep going with this. But you're right, the knowing and understanding why that you want to pursue the business and do the hard things that business, you know, throws at you all the time, and to figure it out is really important. And like, what do you say, you know, you've said desire to help people, that's, you know, and on a big global basis as well, not just, you know, face to face with somebody, although that's always fantastic too. But what happens if someone's like, I just want to be able to pay for my kids to go to university, or I just want to buy a beautiful house? Like, is that too selfish? Would you say that's a selfish thing, or is it legitimate? Like, that's something that is going to make people and drive them forward?
No, I think it's legitimate. Like, I have goals like that all along the way. When I first started, like, my goal was, we were living in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales, and our goal was we wanted to move back to Brisbane because that's where all of our family and friends were. And I wanted to live in acreage in this beautiful house. Like, I had those goals, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, I wanted my husband worked, and my husband's actually really successful in his own right. So he has two trades. He's a high voltage electrician, and he's an electrical engineer. So he had a really good paying job, right? But I wanted him not to have to work, because yes, he was earning money, but he didn't really like it either. So I was like, okay, then my next goal was I wanted him to be able to be home with us more and enjoy the life that I was creating more. Then it's like finding more time to do more activities, to go away, to spend more time as a family, focus on our health. Like, I have all of those little selfish goals along the way, right? But it's that ultimate goal at the end. So there's all of those goals that keep driving me, because who doesn't want to drive a nice car, live in a nice house, you know? And that's going to be different for everyone. I used to live in what people would describe as a mansion. It was literally like 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, high gloss white tiles, pillars. Like, it was.
That's mansion.
It was
Pillars.
a mansion, okay?
Yeah.
I hated it. I legitimately hated this house. And everyone would come over and be like, I love your house. It's so great. And I was like, I hate this house. Like, it just felt so cold to me. And now we live in a house that's built in the 80s. We do live on acreage. We're like 30 minutes from Brisbane CBD, but our house really needs to be renovated. Like, it's got mold, like it's not a vibe, but I love it way more than the mansion. And people come now, they're like, this is not where I was expecting you to live. I'm like, well, that's great, because I love it. Like,
this is home.
and we are renovating, right? And I get to make it my own, with my own feel. It's not as big. It's much smaller. Like, my daughter's room is now next to our room, whereas before it was like, it felt like it was a lifetime away if she wanted to come and find us in the house. So, like, and for me, my family is really important. My friends and family are really important. So I love, like, building this community and connection. Whereas before I didn't feel like that. Here it has so much opportunity for that. And that's what's important to me. So I think the most important thing as well is, right, don't do what other people want you to do. Okay. Like, don't do it. If I look at some of my friends, they live in really expensive homes in really affluent suburbs, because that's what society is telling them to do. Okay. Now, everyone looked at me when we bought on acreage and they were like, why? Like, why do you, no, that's not okay. Like, nobody's doing that. I was like, that's fine. That's what I want to do. Like, I want space. If I want to have 100-meter slip and slide out the back, I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I just want
Yeah.
room for fun. So, and so we do what makes us happy,
Yeah.
regardless of how other people feel about it. Right. Because at the end of the day, sometimes friends and family go, you, your husband, your children, that's who you're building a life for ultimately. So you have to make decisions that, you know, like I said earlier, set your soul on fire. Not what everybody else wants or is expecting or anything like that. It's the same thing as, we own an Audi. Great. My favorite car to drive is the Kia. Right? So I love our Kia. I think it's amazing. It has heated seats, heated and cooled seats. So it will like heat me up in the winter, cool me down in the summer. And everyone's like, again, not what I was expecting from you. And I'm like, great. I just love surprising everyone at every turn.
I love that. Yes, I know. I often drive around and look at all the Porsches and the Lamborghinis, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'd want that if I could afford it. You know, it's like, I really love my Toyota, my Kluger. I'm
It
the
is
same.
really funny. And like, I really do want an it's an RX-8. It's like the Iron Man car, right? The Audi Iron Man car.
Yeah.
But I can't have one because I can't actually get it in my driveway. So like a whole like 5-year plan on renovation at the moment is to redo our entire driveway just so I can have this Audi. And for everyone that, like, I know you don't all know me, but I actually don't drive anywhere, right? My husband was like, it's going to cost so much money on fuel. Like, why are you buying this car? And I was like, I don't even drive anywhere. I was like,
just in the garage.
I know. I was like, but if I do want to drive somewhere, just one day, right? And I just want to let loose. I want to get in my V12 that's really fuel guzzling for a moment in time and go, I earned this.
Yeah, that's right. And that's like just that little goal for yourself. It's like,
right. And it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care if I only drive it once a year. I don't care if other people look at me and go, oh, who's she? Snobby. And then I drive the Kia the next day, right? Like, none of that bothers me. I'm just doing it for me.
Yeah, perfect. No, I honestly can say I'm that person as well. I've never been the person that keeps up with the Joneses or, you know, the Kardashians, as it so happens these days. I've always liked nice things, you know, but that's for me. Like, I would rather wait to get the nice thing than have, I'm just going to use a coffee table, for example. You know, if I really like the coffee table and it's like, that's the expensive coffee table that I want, it's like, I'll forego the coffee table, you know, up until the moment I can get that one.
I'm not going to say I was always like this though, right? There was a point that we were doing what everyone else expected of us. We were building our dream home on a 400 square meter block, you know, paying ridiculous amount of money for this tiny home essentially. And it all fell apart, like dramatically fell apart. We almost lost absolutely everything. And it was in that moment, I think, that really just grounded us and made us realize what was important to us. And as much as that experience sucked, we are so grateful for it, because I learned at a very young age what was more important, and to start listening to what I actually wanted. Like, people tell you, don't care what other people think, do what you want to do. And you're like, yeah, I am. This is what I want to do. But it's not until you really start connecting with yourself. It's like, most people don't even actually know what they want.
No,
you have to learn that first.
Yeah. I did a presentation on Friday to a group and I was like, do you know what you want? And I didn't give them time to answer because I was just, you know, in the presentation mode. But the next step was, it's like, the most successful people know exactly what they want. And if you don't know that, it's okay. But it actually pays to spend time there, doesn't it? To spend time going, what do I want? You know, and this is something that I teach inside my digital course, actually. It's called the Finishers Club. And the first few modules are all based around what drives you and figuring out that and understanding what you are going to show up for. And then we just get rid of all the rest of the stuff. We're like, that's not for you. That's not for you. This is for you. This is what drives you. And we figure that out first as the first step to achieving anything. Because I just see it all the time. Exactly like you said, you know, you're just about to go bankrupt because you've built this house that you can't afford in the suburb that you don't really want to live. That's what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
You thought it was yours. You know, I had this big epiphany this year, actually. So I'm 47, you know, and up until this year, I have always thought that I was a person that needed to do lots of stuff, like was really motivated by travel and getting out and seeing the world and having adventures and stuff. And a few things happened at the start of this year that made me question some things. And I realized not that long ago that actually that is not even for me. That was actually my dad's perspective on life. You know, that was his beliefs about his own life. And I'm, oh, hold on. I like to travel. I like to do some stuff, but it's not like a driving force for me. And I was like, okay, so what do I like? And then I looked back on my list of accomplishments and stuff like that. And it's like, I love to create a beautiful home for my family to be in. Like, that's a huge thing for me. If I was going to spend money on, you know, an overseas trip that's going to cost 50 grand, or to redecorate my house or buy some whatever for the house to make it nicer, I'd mostly go the house. And I have done that in the past. It's like renovations or travel. And it's like renovations are always winning over. And so, but I still had this story playing that I'm a person that likes to travel. I'm a person that really loves to, you know, seek out adventures. And I have felt so frustrated for the last 20 years because I haven't been doing that. And I was beating myself up so often. And now I've come to this realization, oh shit, that wasn't even mine. It wasn't even mine. And it sounds ridiculous that I'm only just figuring this out now, but that's how it plays out. You know,
yeah, but you see people as well, like traveling, and you think, oh, that is a sense of success. Like, it's the freedom, you get to go away and you get to travel and have these experiences and adventures and things like that.
Yeah.
So you start to idolize it, right?
You do,
but it's not for everyone. And it's interesting when you do travel, you then need to know what type of traveler you are. Because I don't mind adventures, right? I like adventures, and I really love immersing myself in a new culture and learning everything that there is about that culture, and finding like little places that all the locals go to. That's what I love about travel.
Yeah.
But when I'm traveling, I also love down days. Like, leave me in the hotel room, don't even let me see the sunlight, and I'm going to curl up with Netflix. Whereas my husband on those days, he's like, I'm not wasting a day in this country. He will go out on day adventures on his own. He does some of the most coolest things. And you know when you're doing the right thing, because you're like, no, I don't even care. Have fun. Bye. Like, that's great. Send me a photo.
I remember, so I traveled when I was younger. After school, I did some work, but then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go traveling. And I enjoyed it, and I'm really glad that I did do it. But since I've had this realization, I've been reflecting back on that time. And there was a point in time where I traveled with some mates around Ireland, and we hired a car. And I remember Jeff, the guy that was, you know, he was the driver. He was my friend's boyfriend. And he used to say to me all the time, Prue, like, seriously, stop sleeping like in the back of the car. Like, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm just like sleeping. He's like, you're supposed to be like enjoying and looking out at the scenery, and that I did internalize that. I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with me that I'm not, you know, wanting. But now, all like 25 years later, I'm like, because I'm not that person. Like, I want to be. I've idolized it. I thought it was possibly that's the type of person that I'd like to be, but I'm just not. So like, that happened all the time. So yeah, you do have to realize what type of traveler you are too. And I'm like you, I still like to go places, but I'm starting to realize I'm more of a short trip type of person as well. A few days, and I'm actually really happy with that, rather than big stretches of time as well.
Whereas I like to travel, like, we'll go to one country for like 6 to 8 weeks usually, but we stay in one place for a week at a time.
Yeah,
because I like routine and structure and schedule, and I don't like change. So it's very hard for me just to like city hop, like when you just like go and you see like all of Europe in 2 weeks. I'm like, no,
Exhausting.
you didn't. You saw monuments on a friggin' map. That's what you
Yeah.
saw. You saw
Yeah.
nothing. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
so we go and like just immerse in every part of the country,
Mm.
which I love. And then because we have so long at those places, it usually means as well we get to see things that people don't see, go to parts that people don't get to go to.
Mhm.
We went to the States a few years ago and we did 8 weeks and we hired an RV and we drove around and we did eight. So they have what, 50 states or 52 states? We
Yeah.
did 18 states in 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And it seems like a lot. And it basically, like for an Australian, it would be like driving from Brisbane to Perth, like, but going via Sydney, like through
Yeah. Okay.
through
Yeah.
Adelaide, like all the way to Perth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Basically like that. But because we were in the RV, for me, it felt like home. Like I wasn't chopping and changing. All my stuff
Um,
stayed in the same spot. It didn't feel like I was packing and unpacking constantly. So I
mhm.
still got like this nice kind of flow feeling.
Mhm.
Whereas if we had have done it where it was like hire this car, jump on this plane, do this, do that, I don't think I would have really enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
because our RV became our home for the 8 weeks, I was like, yeah, I can get amongst this. This is fine.
Yeah, that does sound good. I realize I'm also a person now that I don't like to organize things like that. I want someone else to organize it. So if I like, I'll just say to Joel, I want to do this. Like I've just thrown something out for my birthday in July, and I was like, I want to do this. So you just have to do it. And so he'll then get to work and he'll do all the planning and the booking and this is where we're going to go and be and we'll book the restaurant. And I'm like, I could not be bothered doing any of that. I just want someone to do it all for me. And so the RV trip sounds great as long as somebody's going, right, today we're going to be driving here.
Yeah, so it was the same. Like we just like hired a travel agent and basically was like, okay, where do we stop? And they told us like on this day you drive to this place and you stop there, and then that's the
Perfect.
caravan park or the RV park you're going to stay at, and
Yeah,
things
that's
like
what
that along
I
the
need.
way,
Yeah.
where we could fuel up, like all of those different types of things. And it was so great. And then when we were in each location, it was like, okay, well, what did you guys want to do there? And I was like, well, I don't know, what is there to do? So then they'd give us a list of things to choose from, and we
Mhm.
got to choose different tours or just attractions that we might have wanted to see, anything like that. And we always choose the weirdest stuff too. So it's just fun. Like it's just such a
That
fun
does sound
time.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For people listening in and thinking, okay, where's this conversation? Like, how is it relevant? The relevancy is back to that whole, you know, what you see on social media, particularly, and what you start to idolize isn't necessarily right for you. So it's figuring out what is right for you. When you had that challenge of, you know, building the house and you nearly lost everything, tell us, like, how did you pick up the pieces from that?
Yeah. So what happened was we were building a house and we were actually renting a house in the same street we were building. At the time, we were raising my sister who was 15
Mhm.
and I was pregnant. And I got really sick during my pregnancy and couldn't work. So we went from earning like 350 or $300,000 a year, and then I had to stop work, so I couldn't work. And then Nick actually got made redundant.
Oh,
So
wow.
we went from, yeah, so we
Yeah.
went from having our rent, having this mortgage with where we're building a house, and having all this money that we were earning and we'd saved, to literally having nothing very quickly. And
Wow.
I remember Nick was applying at labor hire companies and he was like trying to sell phones and he was like washing cars and he was trying to do everything he could to get money in the door, but
Mhm.
it just wasn't enough.
Mhm.
So we ended up packing absolutely everything we owned into a shipping container. And the week our daughter was born, so she was literally like 4 days old, we drove from Brisbane to the Hunter Valley and moved in with my mum. Like
Wow.
that's what we did. I was like, we have to do something here or we're about to lose everything. So as
Yeah.
soon as we could stop paying the rent, then we
Yeah.
only had to pay our mortgage. So
Mhm.
we kind of dragged that out. And then we sold everything we didn't need basically to try and get a little bit of like a buffer to
Yeah.
live off for a while. So we moved down there. Then we were like, okay, we're just going to sell this land that we have that we're building the house on unfinished. Like we're just going to sell it as is with
Wow.
all our plans and everything that we'd had. And we could not sell it.
Oh.
Like it would not sell. So it was a
What year
really
was this? I'm curious.
2016.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016. And it was just, it wouldn't sell. Like everything else in this estate had sold, but because it wasn't like, I guess, this conventional house and land package, people were scared of it, and had gone under. So were they going to go under? Like there was all of this stuff happening. And then when we moved to the Hunter Valley, Nick found work very easily. Being a high voltage electrician, he just got to go straight into the mines. It still wasn't very good pay because he didn't have experience on mining equipment, and he'd done his apprenticeship on the transmission network.
Okay.
So he did get a job. Then I would say what was my first real entrepreneurial thing is I started selling Tupperware, right?
Yeah.
And I was killing it. Like I was selling Tupperware and I was making like $1,500 a week.
Yeah.
I was like, I could sell Tupperware all day long, like because I
Yeah.
believed in the product. Like I'd
Yeah.
only sell you things that I would recommend and use,
Uh-huh.
and people loved it. And you like, I moved to this town, didn't know anyone, not from there, so I had to build connections to get these parties and
Mm-hmm.
all of these different things, right? And then after about 6 months, I was reached out to and offered a job that I could not refuse. They offered me 3 days worth of work for a really high pay packet, which meant I could still have time with my daughter. So then I ended up going back into work, and then like just over time, just realized like, why do I keep working for people when I could go out and just help so many more people? And then
Sorry, what job did you go into?
so I went back and I was just doing accounts
Okay.
for their company. That's how it started.
Okay.
And then I actually became their general manager.
Uh-huh.
And I was just working a lot. And I was like, I don't get to see my daughter anymore.
Yeah.
Nick was working all the time. We were just like, he was working days and nights. I was in the office from like 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. Like it was a lot. We had a nanny living with us to help with our daughter. Like we
Yeah.
weren't seeing each other. We
Yeah.
weren't seeing her. We were just working non-stop. And it was exhausting and draining. And we would say we were happy. We had money again. We eventually did sell our block of land. We did lose a lot of money, but we did eventually sell it.
Yeah.
But we could see like we were kind of like clawing back where we were at before.
Yeah.
And then I just went like, but what are we actually working towards here? Like, what do we actually want? What's important to us? And I was like, I actually think we've lost the most important thing to us is each other, and
Yeah.
we've lost that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
and at that
That's
point, I was like, I actually know what it's like to be like, I was raised by a single mom, so I came from nothing, right? So I know what it's like to have no money. Then I learned what it was like to have money, like what I thought was having money. And then I learned what it was like to lose it and have nothing again. And in that time where we had nothing, we still had each other. And
yeah.
like looking back now, it was phenomenal. My husband and I got to spend 3 months at home with our daughter. Not many people get that.
No.
And no, like most dads miss out on that real time when they're a newborn. And we had each other, right? And I was like, and now we have money again, great. We can afford food and our mortgage and all these things, but we don't have each other. What's important here? What are we working towards? And then like I was talking to Nick about it, and he said, you need to start your own business. And I just said, okay, like I'll start my business and I'll keep working and I'll just see how I go. And my heart just wasn't in my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm someone that's all in, like I'll commit to you and I'm all in. So when I was like splitting my time, it didn't feel right. So I ended up resigning. And I'm not much of a crier. Like I don't cry very often. I don't cry in movies, things like that. I literally cried for like 3 days when I resigned. And because in my mind, I'd never not worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am a hustler through and through. I will work day in and day out. And I was quitting for what? Like I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was so scared. Like I don't think I've ever been as scared as that day. And I remember like for the first year of me starting my business, I would wake up every day, get dressed in a suit, and walk to my office in my home. Like for a whole year, I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
for the first like 4 months, I didn't even make any money. I was just doing courses and trying to learn as much information as I could. And the craziest part is I know how to run a business, and I knew before I started, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, I didn't lean into that. It was like, I've never done it before. I don't know. And it,
Pretending.
yeah, and it just wasn't true, right? But it's that conforming thing. You've never done this, so you need me to teach you. And I was like, okay, well, teach me. And I'd do all these courses, and I thought, what a load of crap this is. But okay, if that's what I've got to do, I'll do it. And I was doing it, and I felt so unaligned with everything.
Yeah.
And then in month 4, Nick actually got me my first client in a taxi places, sold me to this guy. And we started work the next week. And within 2 weeks of working with him one-on-one, I knew what I needed to do. I was like, everything I've just done, I need to throw out the window, no matter how painful that is, no matter how much money I've lost or time I've lost. I need to start again and do what I do best. And that's help businesses grow, knowing what I know, not what everybody else has just taught me, because I actually think that's a load of crap. I'm just going to do it on my own. And that's what we did.
Beautiful. You know what? That's fantastic. Like, you know, people listening to this, I have a lot of people that listen that, like I said, have side hustles and small businesses, and they want the freedom of choice in their life to stop what they're doing, go to their kids' Easter hat parades, and, you know, just have time with their family. So what you're talking about, this is really important. Yeah, not like really leaning in to understand what you want. Like, I feel myself, I started 4 years ago in my coaching business, and I just started, and I was like, this is what I was like, lit up. And I was doing like, the first thing I sold was a couple of one-on-one packages, but what really lit me up was the group coaching environment. And I sold this course called Ace Your Weight, and I was like, I'll just put out, I want 10 people. Well, I got 10 people and in the room, and I was just like, this is the best fun and the easiest money like I've ever done. And didn't like, the money wasn't the important part. It was like, I'm standing in front of people. This is really what I love to do. And then enter year 2, year 3, and even part of like year 4, and can confuse the absolute crap out of myself because I've listened to too many people. Everyone's like, you've got to do full on just one-on-one coaching. And that never has been the thing that I wanted to do. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll do that. You know, I like one-on-one coaching with the right people. Like, there's 100% for certain. I love doing that, but it's not where my heart lies and how I want to do stuff. And so I really now just stepped into this place where it's like, okay, I'm going to just scrap everything else that people have told me and lean into what I know is true for myself and how to do things, and just go from there, which is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so,
and that's what you have to do. Like, if I went, like, so I've had my coaching business 6 years now. And if I go back, like, over the time and look at where I started and what I had, at one point I had courses for sale, and they were self-paced. And then we had this type of like small group coaching, and I've tried so many different models. And for me, it's not just about what works for me, but it's how my clients get the best results as well. So it's like shuffling.
Always about that, right? Yeah.
Right. So it's like I shuffle and go, okay, what do I love to deliver? What are they getting the most out of? How can we combine the two and like go from there? So it's constantly changing and evolving. And I even still now, like, I love what we're doing. So one-on-one coaching for me is what fills my cup. But the time commitment in one-on-one coaching is so much. And I don't think people quite get it. And when we talk about like mindset, right? I would only ever take on 5 one-on-one clients, to be clear. But even when you have 5, you're constantly getting dragged into their mindset, right? And if you are trying to help them grow and change their mindset, it can be so debilitating. So at the start of this year, I was like, no, I'm not doing any one-on-one coaching. Like, I just don't have the time to commit to you. And like I said, I'm all in, so I have to commit, and I need to know that within me. And then just yesterday, I was like, no, I really want to do some one-on-one coaching. Like, I want to fill that part of my cup, but I'm only going to do it for a month. Like, I'm not going to be like, I was like, I'm not going to be like, it's a 6-month commitment or a 12-month commitment, because I can't commit. So I was like, I'm only asking you to commit for a month because I know that's all I can commit for right now. And like, let's fill my cup, let's fill your cup by growing your business and let go from there. So it's constantly changing and evolving. And I think that's where people are like, but I sell this and I do that. And for me, we were selling about $700,000 worth of courses for a year, right? Done like self-paced courses. And the statistic on people that complete courses is horrible.
So,
right?
it is.
So I just went, I don't want to sell them anymore.
Yeah.
And my accountant was like,
why?
no, like you can't just turn off a $700,000 revenue stream. And I was like, yes, I can. Because I was like, no, at the core, I want to help people. I was like, so I'll just build a better offer that includes all of my courses and they get access to me to ask questions because I actually want them to complete what I'm freaking creating. I don't want them to just buy stuff and never do it and never grow and then complain that they didn't grow, because some people do need to be held accountable and they need that little bit more motivation. So I was like, no, I am going to turn off that revenue stream. I'm just going to build something else that I feel comfortable with selling. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, I won't sell you something that I don't think will work for you. And people are so they hear that. And then when I tell them, no, you don't want to buy that, they're so shocked. And I'm like, no, it's not a good idea.
That's not for you.
They're like, that is not what I was expecting when I like slid into your DMs and I was chatting. Like, I'm so upfront. I'll be like, yeah, that's not going to work. Like,
and that's what you want. Like, as somebody that's supposed to be a mentor and, you know, someone helping you to do the thing, you need someone to be honest.
And that's what I tend to do. Like, I'm making money. I don't need your money. So if I'm going to take your money, I want to know that I can give you something back for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thinking about, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about my clients' problems and how to help them solve that. That's basically what's on my mind most days. It's not, you know, sometimes I fall into the trap of me. It doesn't last long until I'm like, Prue, it's not actually about you. It's like, how can I support the person, the client, to get the results that they want, you know? And it's funnily enough, I have a digital course, which I love. And the challenge of the course is called the Finishers Club. So it's called the Finishers Club. And I actually help people finish. The first thing they've got to do is finish the course. Like I teach them how to finish the course, because I've seen that. Like, people go out in the world, they buy the courses and they never finish them, and they complain that they don't finish them. So like, well, guess what? I'm going to teach you how to finish the course first, set you up with some great foundations for finishing things that you say you want to commit to, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Yes, it's so important. And I'm like, you don't just like have to rush through everything. You actually have to sit there, take in what's happening. It does take time. Being successful doesn't happen in a month, doesn't happen in a year. It takes time. You will slowly become successful at certain things and be like, oh, I'm successful. That's great. If you had have asked me 6 years ago before I started my own business, are you successful? I would have been like, yes, I'm extremely successful. I don't even remember how old I was, but I've worked as a chief financial officer. I've been a general manager. I've worked as an operations manager. I'm an awards finalist. I am successful. Now I look back and I was like, you were successful, but did I ever imagine that I'd be like 6 years on being like, oh yeah, I own 5 businesses and I homeschool. Like, if you had have told me that 6 years ago, I would have been like, you're so funny. So it is crazy. And that's what I mean, like, your mindset keeps changing, you keep changing, you keep evolving, and that's all that's important, is that every single day you just turn up and be the best version of you.
It is so cliche, but it is. That's the only thing. You know, I love working with intentional thoughts. It's something that I coach on all the time, and I help people create their own intentional thoughts. So what is the thought, like the sentence? You could call it a mantra. I don't really call it that, but I love to use a bit more practical terminology by this intentional thought. It just feels better to me, but it can be anything. What is your favorite? Have you got a favorite that you tell yourself that creates the success for you?
I don't. It changes all the time, right? So at the moment, my biggest one is you can have it all. Like people keep telling me like, you can't be successful and be happy. You can't be successful and have a happy marriage. You can't be successful and homeschool your child and have a happy marriage. Like that doesn't happen. I've been married 12 years. My husband and I are best friends. We actually have like the best relationship. My daughter loves me. I love her. Sure, we fight every now and then, and we love each other as a family. And I have 5 successful businesses. But society says, especially as a woman, you can't have it all. So right now for me, it's you can have it all.
Amazing.
So
I'm going to adopt that one. Yeah,
I'm just constantly reminding myself. And then I always wear this little bracelet. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. It's just a little string. It's actually, it has just weird beads on it. And it's actually Morse code. And it says billionaire. So it's just a constant reminder, no matter where I am, if I'm having a bad day, it's there. And I'll find myself playing with it and feeling it quite often. And it's just like in that, what are you working towards? And like I said earlier, for me, I do want this version of financial freedom that most people wouldn't even touch to dream of, right? And when they're like, I want to be able to fly first class, I'm like, no, I want to own the entire plane. Like I'm that person. So if I want to own the entire plane, I need to be a billionaire, right? Like if I want to help solve world hunger, I need to be a billionaire. So that is my goal. So I'm constantly just feeling it, reminding it, seeing it, living it, breathing it every single day. And when we talk about manifestation, I used to think people that said manifest, like you need to manifest your dream life. I was like, that's way too woo-woo for me. Like you work hard, you win. Like that's it. But then I started to realize is that that's not actually what manifestation is. Manifestation is allowing yourself to believe you are worthy of your goal, right? Once you do that and you keep instilling it, so reminding myself, hey, I'm going to be a billionaire. Hey, I'm going to be a billionaire. That doesn't become braggy anymore.
No.
It doesn't become, like I'm putting myself on some pedestal. It's just this thing inside of me that I'm continually reminding myself, and that's manifestation.
Yes. Yeah. I talk about it as being your self-concept, and that's whatever that looks like. And it's stepping into the self-concept now before you even have the tangible proof of it, but that's who you become. Like anytime someone's struggling with something, it's like, okay, well, if you were a billionaire, what would you do? How would you problem solve this?
Yeah, exactly.
The answer comes so much more easy when you think you've achieved it already. For some, it's just this huge block in our brain.
Yeah.
So that self-concept of being a billionaire is what gets you through the problem solving and the challenges and all those things. I love that. Yeah, because I love a bit of woo-woo, don't get me wrong. But there's all sorts of ways to think about it. And that's a really great explanation.
I had a hysterectomy recently, and like you've got to take out all your jewelry, right? And I have this bracelet on it and it's tied on. So the idea is that, and you can buy these, you can put whatever you want on them. You create them from this lady. And the idea is you wear it until it falls off, right? It will eventually wear off. The band will break and and you can wear a new one, or maybe you've reached that goal you've been achieving, right? That's the idea. So I go for surgery and they say, you need to take that off. And I was like, well, I can't. And they were like, okay, well, we have to cut it off. And I was like, no.
It's not happening.
I was like, no. I was like, can we just like tape it up or something? Like, I'm sure there's a way around it, people. And they're like, oh yeah, we could probably do that. So we just put surgical tape around it. And they're like, what is it? It's just a string. And I was like, no, it says billionaire. And they're like, why? And they were so confused. And I was like, because like, this is something that I'm striving to do every single day. And then the nurse said to me, she's like, I can't even comprehend what I'd do with $1 billion. And I said, but it's not about having $1 billion.
It's not about spending $1 billion.
No, it's not.
Being the billionaire.
Right. It's about having the power that comes with being a billionaire, having the power of choice, the freedom of choice, the freedom of time, financial freedom, the freedom of choice. I bet that comes with being a billionaire, right? So it's straight away is that mindset shift of like, how does that work for you?
Yes. Yeah. I love that you said that, because I've been toying with even another podcast episode about this whole self-concept thing. And that is the difference. That is the difference between someone with the mindset potentially like you to someone like the nurse. It's like, wouldn't even know what to spend $1 billion on. It's like, that's not the point.
No.
You want to be a billionaire. That's not the point. Most people want to spend $1 billion, not be the billionaire. And that is the point. I love that. That's great. And, you know, just even you saying, no, you're not cutting it off. Can't we just tape it up? That's problem solving that possibly somebody else wouldn't do. You know what I mean? Everyone else would go, oh, well, I suppose we've got to cut it off then.
And I was like, no.
Cut it off. Yeah. And that's so everybody hear the mindset that Billie has, you know, like adopt it for yourself and see how you're playing into the old mindset that's not supporting you to get what you want. And maybe you could think about it in a different way. Like, this is the point of this conversation.
Yeah, there's always a way. If you want something, don't think you can't have it. All right. You just need the right plan and strategy to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might not be the first plan and strategy. It might be the 50th.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's what great entrepreneurs do. And successful people you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be successful. Of course, you can be a stay-at-home mum and still be successful, whatever the thing is.
Yeah. And if that's what fills your cup, that's what I tell people. Like, if you want to be a stay-at-home mum, be a stay-at-home mum. If that's what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
For me, I can't think of anything worse than being a stay-at-home mum. So that's not what I'm going to do. Like, it's just
exactly. Yeah.
You have to do what makes you happy, and then you will be happy at the end of the day, regardless of what everyone else says.
Yeah, that is the truth. I've loved this conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Prue.
And I'm thinking that you need to share, and I will share it with everybody, where you get the bracelet.
I will share it with you.
Thing. Yeah, let's share that beautiful lady's work with everybody.
Yes.
People can jump on and do that, and we'll have plenty of people going to surgery going, well, you can't cut this baby off.
And then you can there's so many different choices and designs, and she has like ones on her website, so you don't even have to come up with your own message. If you're like, I don't even know what I'd want on mine, you can have a look through and see what she has to offer. And you can choose all different color cotton bands and things like that as well. So there's a lot of different choices there, but I'll share that with you.
And for anybody that's interested in finding more about you, like, how do you work with people at the moment? What's the offer?
So what I would say is I don't sell like that. So I would just say come and find me on Facebook. Like, it's just Billie Sharpe. I have a free Facebook group that you're always welcome to come and join called Billie's Blueprints. And within that, I share what I'm feeling at that time. So it could be motivational, inspirational, practical tips, tricks, things like that. What's working for me. But just come over, hang out, get to know me more. And if there's an offer I put up, or you find something you're like, hey, I actually really want to work with you, then just reach out to me. I'm not somebody where my inbox is closed off. My inbox is always open. It may take me a little bit to respond because my inbox is always open. Like, literally, I've been away all weekend and I came back yesterday to 200 messages. So it is a lot. But I just love that. Like, I love that I can be that person that is still open. And people like, you will get to a level of success where you won't want people to slide into your DMs anymore. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. But for me right now, they're open. So,
Beautiful. Yeah, so that's the way. Go check her out. Yeah, she's got a beautiful website. Follow her on Facebook. That's what I'm doing. And you just get a little bit of Billie. And I've only met Billie once in person. We met through a Facebook post that she put up saying, hey, if you want everybody to come on your podcast, reach out. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to reach out. And so we've caught up, and Billie is the person that you feel immediately comfortable with.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe it's just you and I, but I definitely felt immediately comfortable. Like, I'd known you for a long time. So easy and very similar in nature. I feel like we're very calm, very grounded sort of people.
So I've just been at this event all weekend, and I knew no one when I arrived on Friday, and now I feel like I have 50 new friends, right? So I think you're right in saying that I am somebody that just you feel like you've known forever. But you know why I think that is? And I've really been thinking about this all weekend. It's because I'm straight to the point. Like, I'm as real and raw and honest as it comes. Like, there is no fluff with me. So I'm always just living with my heart on my sleeve, like out there for everyone to see that I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I do. If you don't like it, don't hang around. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Feel free to leave. Yeah.
So exactly. So I think that's why we connect so quickly, because we go through, like, there's no surface level crappy conversation. We get deep really quick. So it's like, okay, well, we've been friends forever because you already know more about me than other people that I've known for 15 years because you ask the right questions.
Yeah, exactly. So true. So true. So yeah, if you love Billie's wife, go hang out with her and yeah, get to know her as I am doing. And I can't wait to meet you again in person and hang out again.
Yes.
And yeah, again, thanks for coming on. This has been a really helpful topic. And I know we've gone off on all sorts of tangents, but that's the best part about these conversations. And yeah, because anybody that's striving for more in their life, firstly, you deserve it. And secondly, it's only a strategy. You just need a few steps to get you started, and then you can be off and racing and problem solving all the challenges that come up.
Exactly.
And so people like Billie and I in your corner are always fantastic to have around. So anyway, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much. All the information will be in the show notes, and yeah, jump on and check her out.
Thanks,
Okay.
Prue.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Life, Less Drama. If you want to learn more about Prue's work, visit head-coach.com.au. Be sure to subscribe and follow the show so you don't miss an episode. Have a great week.